In other news we're tracking for you, the South African National Blood Service has made an urgent plea for the donation of more life-saving blood. Periods including the Easter long weekend and other holidays place an increased burden on the available supply for emergencies. Let's unpack the story further. We're joined by Thandi Mosupye. She's the spokesperson of the SANBS. Thandi, thanks very much indeed for joining us. And thank you for your patience as well. Would you say this is a perennial problem that we face, not only around these busy holiday periods, but that the blood service is always appealing for more donations?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us. So as the blood service, as you know, we need to collect at least 3,500 units of blood on a daily basis to ensure that there is sufficient blood across our health facilities in South Africa. We do find that during this particular period that we get a lot of demand for blood, and there's a number of reasons why that is such. As you know, a lot of people are leaving their current workplaces. They are going to homes. They are going to churches. They are going to places of holiday. And we are prone to having very high accidents around these particular times of the year, and a number of other trauma incidences that do take place during this part of the year. And that then puts a bit of constraint in terms of the blood stock levels that we have.
And I believe that not only these special holidays, but colder weather as well puts the SANBS under increased pressure.
Yes. It's amazing how much, when we've got cold weather or rain or any one of, those particular types of weathers where it's uncomfortable for people to go out, it does put a strain in terms of our collections because, as you know, blood donation is a voluntary act. And people have to get out of their homes to actually go and do the blood donation itself. And sometimes when it's cold, it's raining, it becomes a bit of a challenge for people to actually go out and donate. And also, I think in addition, if you look at just the current economic factors that are going around in the country, in fact, around the world, where there is a bit of a constraint in terms of resources, it also becomes a challenge for people to take out of their own, will to go out and donate, because it takes you a taxi fare, one or two to get to, get to one of our blood donation sites or one of our donation clinics, yes.
Certainly. And, it's important for us to note as well, as we reflect on the shortage over the Easter weekend and over other holidays, that it's not just trauma situations where extra blood is needed, but in everyday surgeries, including childbirth complications, cancer treatments, surgeries that are scheduled. It's not just around emergency traumas.
That is so true. In fact, most of our blood uses goes towards maternity uses. So that is where around childbirth and mother and child, when a mother goes through that process in terms of labor, and we also find that there's a lot of other uses for cancer patients. So these are people that are on regular treatment that require things like platelets on a regular basis. And that is why we always encourage people to come out and donate blood. For instance, platelets donations is every 2 weeks. And also the fact that with platelets, specifically the shelf life of platelets is very short. It's only 5 days. So whatever units of blood that are collected needs to be used as quickly as possible. But it means that in terms of the input as well, or the collection part of it, we need to make sure that we keep a consistent collection drive around that particular type of blood.
Yeah.
With whole blood, on the other hand, donors can come in every 56 days. And the shelf life there tends to be a little bit longer. And also with whole blood, if we had a bigger donor pool, we wouldn't be necessarily requiring people to come in as often as we do, because then we would have a much bigger pool of South Africans that are donating, and maybe a person would just have to come in once a year. But because of the shortage of donors that we have, we normally rely on our regular donors to come in as often as possible, just to make sure that we keep our stock levels at the right level.
Certainly, and this is why I suppose, just given some of the issues you've mentioned that leads to stocks running low, including things like cold weather periods, the fact that people have to take time out of their day, perhaps to travel to make donations. It's why those blood drives held by the SANBS are so incredibly important.
The blood drives are incredibly important, and these get run in any community, in schools, we run them in churches, we run them in workplaces, and this is where you can get a small group of people that can congregate and, raise their hands up and say, we would like to do a blood donation. Could it be in complexes where people live? And we are always willing and available to set up that particular blood drive. And this also helps with, not getting, sometimes it's difficult to go to an actual donor center to go and donate. But if the blood drive is right at your doorstep, it becomes much easier. Maybe at the mall closest to where you go and get your bread and milk, then it makes it a little bit easy for people to actually donate. So we're all about accessibility and making sure that we are visible and making it easier for our donors to donate.
And just to point out, Thandi, for those of us who are, just par for the course, we do blood donation just as part of our annual activities. So, of course, you've got the blood donors who have been doing it for many, many years, and they see it as a public service. But the next step is, of course, getting new donors on board. And I know that the SANBS has done drives for new donors as well. Perhaps now is a good time to just give us a sense of young people out there who also would like to donate blood. I know you have to, as a start, be 16 years old to donate blood, but what are some of the other criteria?
Okay, so in terms of just young donors, as you said, you have to be 16, and that's why we start them at school in terms of donating. We also go to tertiary institutions to drive the message and awareness around blood donation. But I think importantly also it's around, and particularly why we've been running this Easter Family Blood Bond campaign this Easter period, is to get families to do this together. And make it something that is an annual cultural event where, as part of all the other celebrations that are happening around this particular period, do this as a family. And in that way, it instills the message, particularly on our young people who see us as the parents that are actually leading and doing this. And that will then, I think, get the interest of younger people to also want to do this if they know that this is something that we can do as a family. But just in terms of, I think, collections on younger people, so the people that are between the ages of 16 and 30, we've been tracking quite well. I think the activities that we've put in place in the previous year, which is 2024, just raising awareness around young people, seem to be yielding, the good results. We can see that there's now an increase in terms of young people that do come for donation. We're not yet there at the correct level in terms of targets around this. So we still have a bit of work that we need to do to make sure that young people donate. But importantly is making sure that once you've become a donor, it becomes a lifestyle thing. So don't just come in once, but make it a lifestyle thing. What it also does, it also helps young people themselves to keep themselves in terms of their lifestyle healthy, because if you know that this is what you are committing to, you will ensure that you keep a healthy lifestyle, so that every time you are able to come, you are then able to come and donate without any deferrals.
No, certainly. And I think that once you are in a position where you are in a hospital and in need of blood donation, you certainly get a clearer picture of just how important it is to do exactly that. And are there, Thandi, particular blood types that are higher in higher demand?
So when we look at our blood groups or blood types, we'll know that blood group O is a blood group that is in high demand. And the reason for that is because Blood group O is a blood group that can be able to be given to all other blood groups. So if there's an emergency and your blood type has not been ascertained, you can be given a blood group or O group blood, which will not have any negative impact in terms of your blood. And we find that this becomes very useful, especially when we go to more of the rural areas where it might take longer for the blood, blood type to go to testing centers and so forth, and life at that particular time is critical. So that is a blood group that is extremely, extremely important, and that's why whenever we have a call out for blood collections, that's the blood group that we are really calling out to. Not to say that the other blood groups are not important, but this one, because it is also used in an emergency situation, it is that blood group that we normally encourage our blood donors to come out and donate.